All right, right now we're going to look at the geometric explicit formula. Right now, again, just know that this is the formula. A of n equals A1, and all A1 is just that's your first term. Pretty simple right there. Just your first term in the sequence. Times is multiplication, your R, which is your common ratio. So right here, this is your common ratio. We've talked about how to find that. You take your second term divided by your first term. That is how you find your common ratio. And then n minus 1. The n is just which term you're trying to find, which we're not going to talk a lot about that in this video, but we're just going to talk about how to set up the explicit formula when looking at a sequence. So let's look at an example and use our formula to help us out. So for the first example, we have 2, 4, 8, 16. I'm already letting you know this is a geometric sequence. So for our A1, just our first term. Our first term is the 2. Notice, because it's first. So our A1 is 2. Our common ratio is our second term, which is 4, divided by our first term, which is 2. So 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So our common ratio here is 2 as well. So in setting up our formula, it looks like this. A of n equals, we plug in our A1 here, which is our first term, so 2 times our common ratio, our R here, which is 2. So we put 2 and then n minus 1. And that is what our formula looks like for this sequence. Okay, we're going to follow the same pattern and do this for the next problem. Let me see if I can keep that in there. Okay. So for our next sequence, we have -3, -12, -48, -192. Well, we have to find our A1, our first term, which is right there, -3, because it's first. So our A1, our first term, is -3. Our common ratio, our R, you take your second term, which is -12, divided by your first term, which is -3. So you can type that into your calculator, do whatever you need to do, but -12 divided by -3 is going to give you a positive 4. A positive 4 when it's all said and done. So now you just plug in your information into the formula. So A sub n equals, again, we put our A1 here, our first term, which is -3, times our R, which is our common ratio, which we already found to be 4, so times 4, and then we just put n minus 1 at the top. Okay? So again, setting up that formula, A1 times R raised to the n minus 1. So we're going to, again, continue to use that, For the last one here, again, try these on your own, stop the video and try it on your own, but I'm going to go ahead and go with it. A sub 1, so our first term is 5, so we put 5. Our common ratio, again, is our second term divided by our first term, so -15 divided by 5. -15 divided by 5 is -3. So now we're going to set up our formula. A sub n equals our A1, our first term, which is 5, times our R, which is our common ratio, which here is -3, raised to the n minus 1. And just kind of give you a heads up, usually when you have a negative common ratio, they like to put that in parentheses. So you may see that in parentheses just to kind of keep that times the negative, to keep it separated. So I like to put parentheses in between those. So something to kind of keep in mind there, but that is how you set up that formula. Again, going back, this is how you set the geometric explicit formula. Again, find your A1, find your common ratio. To find the common ratio, it's your second term divided by your first term, and really just plug everything in to what's given. Okay, plug your A1 times, plug your common ratio to the n minus 1. You'll be quizzed over that. Again, ask questions if you need to, comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you soon.